Does your country have any form of public transport in any major town? Majority of us, the answer is no. And this is a challenge which 99% of Africans are facing. There is those matatu or PSV which carry people from one point to another, maybe a bus or 14-seater or maybe a minibus. But that one we cannot call a public transport since it's privately owned by some people who make all decisions the way they want. I keep wondering why Africa is not so much investing heavily on public transport. Public transport is the key to everything we want as Africa. But instead of facing it now, we are not ready to do it now. We wait, and until maybe for the next 2, 3, 4 generations to come so that we can start investing in public transport. Our main goal right now is to invest so heavily on vehicles, on load so that these people who have their own vehicle can be travel at ease, and those people who will be traveling on these so-called public transport while still are owned by private people can also travel at ease. The issue is those people who make decisions are and don't care about public transport. We need a good public transport in any African country for it to develop and sustain development. Right now, we can be having 5%, 10% growth, but the issue is how can we be able to sustain this growth without a public transport? Because to be sure and to be for real, we cannot continue building this heavy highway which are making this country poorer and poorer, taking huge loan to try to construct this highway. If we can take for example any railway line which have been constructed, let's take for example a Kenyan standard gauge railway which was constructed from Nairobi to Mombasa, and there is this other railway expressway which has been constructed on the same route from Nairobi to Mombasa. The railway line costed around 300 billion Kenyan shillings, which is roughly about 3 billion US dollar. The load is estimated to cost around 5 to 6 billion US dollar, which is roughly about 600 billion Kenyan shillings. But when we look on the transportation of goods and people using these two modes of transport, we can all clearly see that load is just a waste of money, and it's just another project for government, maybe to pocket the money, or for government, I don't know, to have fame that you constructed this and that expressway. Because right now, railway line going to Mombasa can accommodate even 20 that coats, which most of the time the SGR do ferry allowed 2,000 to 3,000 people to Mombasa. And you remember this is not the maximum. They actually attach the number of coach according to the people who have booked. If we can book 10,000 people, they will be able to transport them at a go. And at the same time, they can ferry 3,000 people and also ferry goods using the same train going to Mombasa. With a bus, we need a bus which can ferry around maybe 50 people, and we have an SGR which is ferrying 2,000 people. That one you'll find is 40 plus buses on the road which are being replaced by this SGR. But the issue is, why can't we do that? Connect each and every city in Kenya and all of the Africa. In that way, we'll be able to solve a lot of issues. Right now, when I wake up in Nairobi and I decide to go to work, where I live, it's just merely 19 kilometers from CBD of Nairobi. But I can tell you this, it takes me roughly 2 to 3 hours to make it to the house or to go to work. If not that, if I'm reporting to work at 8 a.m., I'll have to be up by 5 a.m. in the morning so that I can travel without any traffic jam between 5 to 6. Then I go sleep on the car waiting for the time to arrive to go to the work. If not that, you want to come home without any traffic jam, you have to stay in the office for over 2-3 hours so that you can leave office around 7 or 8 p.m. in the evening, and that way you not come around a big traffic jam. But if we can convert these loads, yes, it doesn't matter whether it's a single lane. You see, if we have a single lane, there we can be able to produce 2 railway tracks which will be to and fro from Nairobi or to and fro from any city where you live in. Remember, this is not a video concerning about Nairobi or Kenya in general. I'm just using Kenya because I know about it a lot. But this is an issue. Let's say if you go even to Kampala, Uganda, you'll find it. You go to Arusha, Tanzania, you go to Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, anywhere you'll go, there is this issue. If we can concentrate on railway track, I can tell you this, we will open up our city and our country. If we have a railway train which will be running for maybe a 40 kilometer away from city center, the best thing, there is no traffic. So even someone who lives in 40 kilometer away from city center will just take roughly maximum 1.5 hours. And I'm talking about these old days train which are being just thrown away by this developed country. A train which doesn't even have any speed, just move at a speed of 30 kilometer per hour. If we have that train, it will take someone who is living 50 kilometer from the workplace 1.5 hours maybe to be to the work. If I'm reporting to work by 7, I'll be required by 8 a.m. I'll be required to be up by 6:30 to be ready to leave, so I can wake up at 6 a.m. exact, then leave to go to work. And when coming back, it will be easy. It will be actually so easy for you to plan your life. Let's say if we can construct a road which are specifically for buses, there is no any other car can use that road unless it's an emergency vehicle, then we'll be left with those buses which would be moving at a high speed, making a distance of 40 kilometers to be covered in less than an hour. But instead of doing so, we are busy constructing expressways so that people can pay and make it work on time. And you see, sometimes I keep wondering, if African things are this cheap, why is it not this Western country company coming to invest and start their business here? First of all, yes, there is a lot of things, but the transportation is the key thing. If I am maybe a car manufacturer or car dealer, and I come and maybe start producing my vehicle in somewhere in Uganda, let's say Kampala, how will my good be transported from Kampala all the way to the nearest port so that I can be exporting these cars to other countries? There isn't, because if I want to transport good from Kampala, I will either use Kenya or Tanzania. Let's say you use a route of both of them, Tanzania and Kenya. What will happen is you produce your vehicle. There is no any railway line running from Kenya to Uganda or Tanzania to Uganda. So you will have to hire some trucks, which maybe when they carry at the maximum is 10 cars, transport them all the way to the port city, which will take around 10 to 15 days for them to reach any port city. And in these 10 to 15 days, one truck will transport only 10 vehicles. But if we have a railway line, you'll find that one railway line will be able maybe to transport even up to 200 vehicles. one way, and since it will be not facing traffic jam or something like that, and will be exchanging drivers, you can find that even a normal railways which can travel at 100 km per hour will take roughly 12 maximum 15 hours to reach the port. So in these 10 days, this railway will have covered minimum 10 trips, which it will have transported over 1,000 vehicle, and that is something doable. And for investor, I can do that because first of all, I'll save my money on transporting a lot of vehicle. Second of, I will be able to deliver my order on time. But if you keep telling people that you can come in Africa and start your business where you will be delivering your goods on track, which most of the time you find them they have involved on accident, they are very old, they do have breakdown every now and then it become difficult unless this company have nowhere else to go, or it's here to exploit people, or on top of that it's have ample time to waste around going trying to transport their goods. Even though material will take long to reach or arrive to its destination. So what I can say, I wish we young generation can wake up and try to tell our government how to to plan for the future. This expressway will not help anyone. It's just something which has been constructed to avoid the issue now, but the issue is not going anywhere. We will keep seeing this traffic jam. We will keep seeing Africa being left behind from any other country, from this developed country, because of that. And I'll tell you this, when you have your free time, just go and research China. And one thing I can tell you this, what opened up China, it's railway line. Because right now there is someone who work in maybe Beijing, but he live 300 or 400 kilometers away from Beijing. Ask yourself, in that country where you live, 400 kilometers is a distance of maybe from one end to the other end of your country. Let's say for those people who live in Rwanda, 400 kilometers you can cover end to end of Rwanda, or even if not that, maybe 3/4 of the Rwandan distance. But these people you find in China, they are able to make it work within 1 hour. They are in work and 1 hour they are at home. Like that person have a specific time. He wake up at 6 and he will be back in the house at 6. You in Africa, you are living 10 kilometers, even other 7 kilometers away from where you work, but it will take you over 1.5 hours to reach to work, to reach to home from work. Because of this traffic jam, you find that before even you leave the gate of where you live to go to work, there is already traffic jam. You even, for you to join the road to proceed to work, you'll have to take for like 30 minutes in traffic jam starting at your gate. But these people don't suffer things like that. Remember this, the population of Africa is developing. The population of Africa is growing at so big rate that we cannot construct road that can be able to sustain Africa. It doesn't matter how fast or how far we can construct this road. We cannot be able to do away with it. We need to think beyond road. And that's where China, you see, they are smarter than other Western or even African country. Why? They decided to focus on railway line. One railway line can transport maybe even 10,000 people in China. And since there is a lot of people going to work, you need all these people to be transported. And these railway line are easy to control because they have schedule and they are, most of them are automated. It's something that is doable. But the issue is our government don't want to do that. And I will ask again today, why don't we have a one railway line connecting all the way from South Africa to Egypt, connecting west to east, north to south, at In that way, I can move from South Africa and I take one railway line which will take me to Egypt, and it will take maybe 2 days or 3 days at most. And even, or I can move from west to east with one railway line. And in that way, a country in East Africa can be able to buy fuel from Nigeria all the way to East Africa. Right now, if we import fuel from Nigeria, it's expensive than importing from Saudi Arabia. Why? Because the ship will have to go all the way Egypt, on top Egypt, Red Sea, all the way down, or it use the longer route of South Africa all the way to East Africa. But when we buy oils from Saudi Arabia, it comes direct. If we can construct a railway line, you'll find that we will not buy oil from Saudi Arabia. And since we can agree with Nigeria to do trade with maybe your local currency, it will be easy. The oil will be transported through railway line all the way from Nigeria to the East Africa. And if East Africa is producing natural gas, it will be transported all the way from East Africa to Nigeria or South Africa. And in that way, Africa will develop. But because of our own self-interest, we don't want that. The government don't want that. They don't want to open up Africa because they will feel threatened, and people might say, oh, we want to join this country and become one country. They just want to continue to be selfish and have their own boundary. Remember, we didn't have boundary. It's the colonial people who created this boundary. Thank you for joining, and make sure to comment on your thoughts on this topic, because it's a serious topic which need to be dealt with for now, or it will come to affect us in the future. Goodbye, and make sure to subscribe if you enjoy such a kind of content. Bye bye.